You're gonna rattle the stars, you are.
It's crazy to think that this gem of a movie is already 20 years old. Even though Disney hates this movie, us on the channel love this movie. Joe grew up watching it, but I never really sat down and watched this until after we were married. Before we fly into this video, go sail to that subscribe button and don't forget to hit that bell so you get notifications and don't miss out on any more treasure.
Mom, this is it. This is the answer to all our problems. Don't you remember? All those stories?
That's all they were. Stories.
Sci-fi and pirates is never a combo I expected to work as well as it did. Honestly, I shouldn't have been surprised since space wizards are freaking awesome. Though this movie has moments of lightheartedness, it actually has a lot of heart and deep emotions. It starts out with James as a young boy hooked on stories about pirate Captain Nathaniel Flint and his hidden treasures on Treasure Planet. We also get the impression it is just him and his mom. Throughout the movie, this is confirmed, and we even get a song down memory lane of how James was left behind by his father, which leads him to over time to connect with Silver. Silver's original intention was to make Jim's life a living hell, but over the course of time, he grows fondly of him, almost like a son. In reality, Silver is not showing his intentions about getting to Treasure Planet himself for the riches. Him and his crew of misfit pirates are planning a mutiny of the ship. While on the topic of Jim and Silver's relationship, this movie does not hold back on the feels. We see their relationship become the true heart of the story, which is a highlight of this movie. There is still just so much more. Finding a planet full of treasure is fun and adventurous, but the true treasure is friendship and following your dreams. Aww. Even the side characters add to the story as well. Morph over time becomes friends with James, and let's be honest, he is super adorable. While we also have Captain Amelia and Delbert chat the most together because they are opposite breeds of cat and dog, how unique. But their puns were hilarious, and the ending relationship was quite cute. You can really see all of the heart that was poured into this film, and it makes sense considering the directors waited years to even get permission to make this movie. The way this film was animated and all of the types of animation they put here show that they really cared about this film. There are so many small animation details, but our favorite is probably every time Jim begins to cry and you actually see the tears building up before they begin to fall. The mix of 2D and 3D was just phenomenal. There are cool elements like the beginning when Jim is air surfing and even the way John Silver is designed, especially his mechanics from the eye scanner to the arm and leg interactions throughout the story. His overall style was just super cool. The concept of the places you go are also very unique. Outer space locations leave your imagination to literally soar with creativity. We see the use of a moon actually be a functional city or a spaceport for all the travelers. I mean, the ship you are on controls gravity. I would expect this to be designed since they are placing themselves in the atmosphere. Treasure Planet was also super cool for its ability to be a hidden key in the ground for faster travel. But what really caught my interest was the unique use of the whales. It's cool because they are on a ship, so I would suspect ocean lore as well somehow. But why whales, you may say? Well, they represent dreams. The infinite possibilities you can have in your life, but to find peace while flying among the stars. This was really cool for a space nerd like me to see, as it is a lore, but one that really suits the story of James and Silver both finding inner peace in the end of their story. Also, James left his mother behind for growth, and him greeting these creatures along his journey helped him have a moment of serenity. This was also a wave of comedy around that time of fishy examples like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Just like every other Disney movie, the music is amazing. Certainly a bopping soundtrack. The score was epic and intense when it needed to be. The standout though was the song for the flashbacks and montage of James growing up. It is honestly a song we love in general. We say the movie has heart because this is one of those musical pieces that adds to the list of those examples. By the end of the song, you can't but help but not feel emotion yourself. Maybe even cry. I mean, I know I got teary-eyed.
How do you think Captain Flint did it, Mom? how they swoop in out of nowhere and vanished without a trace.
Normally, we have quite a few memorable mentions, but James and John Silver are the primary focus for bonding and growth in this movie, while everyone else just kind of adds to the story. James' mother, whose name is Sarah, is very sweet, but she is at her wit's end of how to help her teenage son, especially while still managing a business. We see the whole Benbow Inn is packed, and she's rushing to help all of the customers. She's clearly frazzled. It's not the same mother we saw in the initial beginning, coddling her son and wanting to read the bedtime stories together. Life is crazy, and she's clearly a single mother. She visibly gets upset when she realizes that James has gotten into more trouble with the police and even threatened juvenile hall. She thought he was turning a corner, but felt mistaken. She knows how smart James is, and he's built his first solar surfer at 8 years old, so she's quite amazed at him. But is also very upset that he's failing school. When James is offered a trip of growth and to follow his dreams, she can't help but say okay. This small action of trust on her part gives James his brief moment of learning how to be a better person. We also have Delbert, who at first is concerning to be an action of father replacement in this story. Luckily, it is Silver, because Delbert does not know how to act around children.
Trying to run a business while raising a fellow like Jim.
He only really helps in being that brief guardian for James while on the ship. Then we don't really see him till the end of the movie to get off of Treasure Planet and to go back home. We do see a visible relationship, though, between him and his feline friend, Captain Amelia. They banter back and forth, which leads to them being together in the end. How cute! Talking about cute, we must discuss Morph. Who knew a piece of floating bubblegum and silly putty could be so hilarious? Morph helps the screen remain lighthearted and a little blob of mischief. The best is when he shapeshifts and repeats phrases. You can't help but chuckle.
You can keep that kind of flim-flammery for your spaceport floozies, Silver.
You cut me to the quick, Captain.
Let's talk about the Jar Jar of the movie, Ben. I see how he is meant for the final push of the story and interpreter of Captain Flint, but man, can he talk. He just mistakes his way to success, and normally that would be funny and cool. But his passive aggressiveness was too annoying for me, and he talked just too much for Joe. He isn't the worst Disney character, but he does bring the movie down just a little. Together, we are going to all call out the spider of this group, which is Scroop, and he is distinctly the villain in actions and appearance. Anytime a creepy crawly is involved, they're usually just a plain villain. Not only is he just greedy, but he tries to make the crew turn on Silver. Also, who is willing to pin a death on a kid? That was just messed up. Did we mention that he resembles a spider too much?
Getting in too deep here, Morphy. Next thing you know, they'll be saying I've gone soft.
Did anyone else hear this man's name and think something has got to be fishy about him? Maybe it's just me. I really liked that when you first officially meet a pirate named Old Billy, he mentions a menacing man that's after him who makes whirring and clicking noises. Like, this guy literally sounds psychotic until you meet John Silver. You, like James, instantly start questioning this man's actions, especially when his handshake for the greeting is nearly a knife. Not to mention, Amelia already mentioned this crew is a bad choice for hire, especially when she knows of the type of expedition that they are journeying on. James is under the watch of John and is given many chores, as we lightly mentioned before.
Didn't your pap ever teach you to pick your fights a bit more carefully? Your father not the teaching sort?
No. It was more the taking off and never coming back sort.
Sorry, lad.
John does seem at first like a real jerk, but quickly comes to realize that Jim doesn't have a father. He has had no fatherly guidance to take the time and teach him some skills or proper socialization. He starts him off by cleaning so much so that it will tire him out, all the while also keeping him away from his plan of taking over the ship when the time is right. Over time, we see John starting to really bond with Jim. In one moment, when James even falls asleep during his chore, John places places his jacket over him to keep him nice and warm. We see John is starting to get fond of this young and rebellious kid, probably even sees himself in the little troublemaker. John was also a very interesting character. He is the antagonist, but Joe insists that he isn't a villain, but rather Scroop was, and I can agree since he does resemble a spider too much for me to even like him. But his overall situation in this film was just very intriguing. He doesn't want Jim hurt, and will give almost any excuse to ensure others don't hurt him. And if he tries to threaten him, you know he cares too much to even follow through. However, there comes a point where he has to become more hard-hearted towards Jim, since his crew would turn on him pretty fast. I love that greed is just another big issue. He wants to be greedy, and he makes it clear that this treasure is all he cares about. And it would have been nice to see more of his backstory and how he got those even robotic attachments.
So, how'd that happen anyway?
You give up a few things. Chasing a dream.
I think in a lot of ways, Silver is what Jim could have turned out to be, obsessing over the treasure and doing anything you can to find it. The movie does great at showing us that even though he says he wants and cares about the treasure the most, in reality he cares about Jim just as much, and it becomes a cemented fact when he saves him.
I met this old cyborg, and he taught me that I could chart my own course. That's what I'm gonna do.
Jim and his growth in this movie is fantastic. He starts off very broken and even acknowledges that fact, but still well-intentioned was all of his past actions. You see he does care about his mom, but he's standoffish to everyone, including her. And it makes sense once you figure out that his dad abandoned them. He is stuck between being a kid and trying to live up to his mother's standards. James is also very aware that he is way too smart for the job he is doing for his mother's business. He wants to see more. It's in him to explore. I love that they use this for a backstory for him. Disney loves killing parents, but not many of them just up and leave, and that comes with a whole new set of character flaws. Perfect example of this is the way he communicates, or rather doesn't. For someone with a background like this, it makes perfect sense why he doesn't trust people. Think of how differently the movie would have played out if he trusted people in power and went to the captain earlier on and reported John when he first met him. Speaking of John, Jim's relationship with him is one, if not best part of this film. He helped Jim with a lot of the growing that he needed, especially at the age that he is. These moments are supposed to make him a better person. James gets personally affected by the situation of losing a crew member when his job was to secure all the ropes. We as a viewer see he did his best and did the job right, but an accident still occurred, but not because of James. James, though, has started to learn to take responsibility for his actions, feeling deeply hurt, and John steps in to help him, which is quite a touching scene and truly beneficial for any person's self-worth. Let's watch it.
It wasn't your fault, you know. Not
Look, don't you get it? I screwed up. I mean, for 2 seconds, I thought that maybe I could do something right.
No, you listen to me, James Hawkins. You got the makings of greatness in you. But you gotta take the helm and chart your own course. Stick to it, no matter the squalls. And when the time comes, you get the chance to really test the cut of your sails and show what you're made of. Well, I hope I'm there, catching some of the light coming off you that day. It's all right.
When Silver speaks lovingly to him, we see Jim start to tear up. Jim is used to just holding everything in and begins to snap when a man's death is put on his shoulders, or even when his mother expresses that she's disappointed in his way of dealing with things. Jim gets the love, attention, and lessons he's been craving for years through Silver. It's support that he's never really had. His mom clearly cares, but she's at a loss of what to do. Delbert is just definitely not a kid's person, and seeing how he talks about him makes sense why Jim and him basically have no relationship at all. They mostly just tolerate each other in the beginning. It is shown numerous times that Jim is just broken and a lost child. He feels like he has no future and is pushed when he has people like Delbert around that clearly have no faith in him. He knows his mom cares and he cares about her, but he doesn't know how to show it. I also don't doubt that there is a part of him that is scared that she might leave him one day too. He puts a lot on his shoulders, and he has to learn how to let a lot of that go and figure out the life that he wants.
And what do you see off that bow of yours?
A future.
Jim also gets to live up to the responsibility and the goals that he wanted. He finds Treasure Planet and is also able to build his mom's diner bigger and better.
Look at you, glowing like a solar fire. You're something special, Jim. You're going to rattle the stars, you are.
We can't help but express how much heart this movie gives. It shows that no matter the circumstances, and even if you didn't come from the best living situation, your dreams are yours, and you can make them possible. Also, don't judge a book by its cover. Silver, though menacing in appearance, is actually a big softie. What did you enjoy about Treasure Planet? What other underrated Disney movies do you love? Drop a comment so that way we can know your thoughts, because we really enjoy chatting with you. Until next time, stay nerdy and keep binging.